And welcome back to the channel where we talk about only good comics. I'm Brant, and this is Friday First. This is that series where we talk about those brand new #1 issues, new character debuts, new story arcs, and the like. And this is for books that are releasing on December 17th, 2025. This is your top list of new #1s, etc., for this coming week. And this week we have a top 9, as the title gave away. So we're going to talk about those in just a minute. First, I want to apologize for the ring light glare. I forgot to take the glass out of that picture before I started recording. So I'm going to have to figure something else out. If anybody's got suggestions to kind of not have that happen, or if you know some kind of frames that don't have the glass in them that'll still keep the picture in them, that would be cool. Because I don't really want reflections of my screen and the ring light and all that stuff in the background. That's kind of distracting and annoying, right? So anyway, also before I get into this week's picks, a couple of things, just a tease for something to come, and then I'm going to do something that I don't know if I'm going to do every week, but I'm going to do it this week. So more on that in a second. But to tease something to come, I had told you all when I changed the format for this show that eventually I was going to introduce a second show where I reviewed the books instead of having those recaps slash reviews on this show. So I wanted to start it right away because I'm excited about it, but I decided to kind of wait. So it's probably going to be around the beginning of the year. But I've decided on doing a series called Jumping On Points. And in this, I am going to review some of the issue ones and stuff from the previous week. Yes, but that's not the only thing I'm going to do in this show. I'm also going to be talking about recent jumping on points for a specific character or series or something like that in every episode. And then possibly, maybe monthly, I'll add in like a classic look back to a really good jumping on point for a particular book or character from the past, maybe past 10, 20 years, maybe going even further back than that. And what I'm thinking is having it tie into a current release. So for an example, a couple of weeks ago, Nova Centurion issue #1 came out. If I was going to do it based on that, I would probably look back to the last jumping on point we had for Richard Rider Nova. And then I would tie it back to even previous stuff with like New Warriors issue #1 and then the previous Nova series before that. So that would be the kind of thing that I would do. So if that's something that sounds cool to you, especially for people that are wanting to do kind of a deep dive or kind of catch up on a certain character or a certain title, I thought that would be a fun way to do it. So that's what Jumping On Points is going to be about. And look for that somewhere towards the beginning of the year. All right. So with that, I'm going to jump into the other thing that I was talking about, which is I've had an opportunity to read most of the first issues from last week's show. I'm not going to review them. I'm not going to go back on my word on that, but I did think I'd have a little fun with it this week and see if this is something that I should continue to do every week, or if I just do this until Jumping On Point starts. So I've read 7 of the 10 books from last week so far, so I thought I would just rank them in the order that I like them and see and compare that to how I rated them or how I ranked them last week. So here's my list. I'll read it off. So the top 7, starting with #7, these are last week's books that I got a chance to read. So #7 was TMNT, #13. And if you want my complete thoughts on some of these books, you can check out our podcast on Tuesday nights, Comic Book Weekly. It's a live show I do with Mike Spiderslayer and Comic Uno, and we've been doing that for over 10 years. And we go in full depth on our top 5 comics of the week. So some of these might end up in there, and we might be discussing these. So if you want to hear my full thoughts, go check out that show. But so I'm not going to give like full thoughts here. So anyway, of these 7 books I read, #7 TMNT, #13, 6 Our Soot Stained Heart, 5 The End 2099, 4 The Darkness, 3 DCKO Wonder Woman versus Lobo, 2, Absolute Batman. That might surprise some of you. And number 1 for me of these first issues, this isn't my overall rankings, but just of these first issues, or these first from last week, is Aquaman issue number 12, which was a DCKO All Fight Month fight between Aquaman and Hawkman. I thought that was a really fun fight, and I just loved, really enjoyed that fight. Absolute Batman was fantastic as well. I'm just giving some highlights here. And TMNT, I was a bigger fan of the previous creative team, so that's why it was the lowest. So that's just kind of a fun thing. And just to look back at where I had them anticipated, last week DCKO Wonder Woman versus Lobo was actually my number 1. Here it ended up in my number 3. My number 2 was the End 2099. That ended up being my number 5. My number 3 was Absolute Batman. It went up to number 2. My number 4 was Aquaman. It shot up to number 1. Number 5 was TMNT, dropped to 7. 6 was The Darkness, and it jumped up to number 4. 7 was Umbral Chains, which I didn't get to get. Number 8 was Our Soot-Stained Heart, which jumped up to number 6. So interesting. Pretty close to where I had kind of predicted them for myself. So I just think that was fun to go over. All right, but with that said, we're going to get into this week's top 9 firsts for the upcoming new comic day next week on December 17th. So let's switch screens and get into that. All right, coming in at number 9 from Cosmic Lion Productions is Detective Pickle PI issue number 1. This just caught my attention. It was an interesting series. It's about this detective in this place called Delhi City, appropriately because he's a pickle, fighting crime and kind of has this no nonsense reputation, and goes out there and fights mutant mobsters and killers and aliens and all kinds of stuff, but he's a pickle. And I just thought that was kind of funny. I've never heard of Cosmic Lion Productions, so I don't know much about them. But it's one of those off the wall things. If I'd seen this at a convention, I would probably pick this up and check it out. Don't know how readily available it will be in your shops, but I thought it was interesting, so that's why it is coming in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is Thundercats Ho! Day Special 2025. A little play on words there with the parentheses holiday. Obviously, the catchphrase Thundercats Ho! Played into that. But if you've been enjoying the Thundercats series from Dynamite, you might want to check this one out, especially if you like holiday stories and all of that. This is a 40-page book for $5.99. And it looks like we have blind bags as well. So it says each mystery blind bag includes 2 separate copies of the issue, both of which are exclusive to the blind bag. So that's kind of interesting. If you're, subscribed to this latest blind bag craze, you might want to check this one out as well. Looks like they're stumbling across the snowman. There's a festival of the claw. There's Queen Tatara's royal guard preparing to use the holiday as an opportunity for a surprise attack. All kinds of fun stuff. Nostalgia for Thundercats fans from back in the day. So check this one out. And that's why this one comes in at number 8. Here's one from another company that I have not heard of, coming in at number 7. This is Slasher Royale issue 1 from Afterlight. And I believe this is a UK based company. The creator is Joseph Oliveira. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but I apologize if I did not. But they do a lot of horror comics, apparently. So if you're into horror comics, you might want to check them out, look them up. They have a bunch of comics out. This is based on a character named Charlie Bowers in 1995, who saw his father killed by a notorious serial killer called the Cable Man. Now it's years later. Cable Man was captured, sentenced to life in a high security prison, but now now Charlie is grown up and he thinks of nothing but avenging his father's death. So we're going to see how that plays out. Looks like maybe a flip the script kind of thing. Now Charlie has become this serial killer's killer, maybe. I don't know how that's going to happen, but if this sounds like your kind of thing, check it out. But yeah, so that's number 7. Moving right along here at number 6 from Artists, Writers, and Artisans, otherwise known as AWA, we have Aggie issue number 1, which stands for Aggregated Human Experience Database. And this Aggie has come to dominate life in the near future. And now this what this means for a celebrity or an influencer, etc., is that it allows anyone to live through their life basically through their eyes, which is interesting. So it's kind of a VR AI kind of tech thing where you can live vicariously through an actual person, kind of, I guess, is the idea behind this. And as you might expect, the writer here is Mark Russell, does a lot of these kind of things, looks sometimes satirical, sometimes with a more dramatic perspective. He kind of takes on these issues that are affecting, the I don't know, the current news cycle and all this stuff, everything we're looking forward to, especially with the AI fears and everything going on right now. This kind of plays into that. So that's why this one ends up at number 6. All right, at number 5, we have our first and only Marvel Comics title on this list, which is Black Panther Intergalactic issue number 1. I don't know if this is spinning out of Imperial or not, or if it ties in at all. And the creator here is Victor Laval, who did some work in Wolverine, has done some stuff for Panini Comics, the Marvel stuff over there. I'm not too familiar with this particular writer, but they're writing this about Black Panther, who is trying to unite his entire kingdom, as both on Earth and in outer space, as it turns. And there's this mysterious planet that he goes away to where he must fight for his life, and his sister is trying to find him. But with both of them distracted, somebody else is trying to take over Wakanda. So all kinds of stuff going on. If you're a big Black Panther fan, this one might be for you. But that is your number 5 this week. Coming in at number 4 from Mad Cave is, sorry, the title is out of screen there. The New Space Age issue number 1. This one is written by Kenny Porter, and this is about a disgraced astronaut named Mark Mitchell, whose only true mission in his life has been to find his little brother Joey, who was abducted by aliens from a crop circle when they were little kids. But he gets grounded because he's a hotshot pilot, and the space program is defunded. So he has to find another way to get to space to try to find his brother. So he makes this homemade rig and tries to get to space that way. So that sounds like a fun concept to me. This is a movie that I would watch. So I'm definitely going to check this one out. So that's why this one comes in at number 4. Coming in at number 3 from Image Comics, we're talking my language now. Here is Wrestle Heist issue 1, which I had never heard of until I was going through this to put this list together for this week. And this is written by Kyle Starks, who just did another one of his books was just released from Dark Horse called Devil on My Shoulder, which completely different tone from what we have here in this book. But that was a really good comic. If you have not checked that out, it's very triggering. It's very intense, and just read the description before going in, because it's very very detailed in the way it presents that story. But it's a very good story. Anyway, let's get back to this one, Wrestle Heist, which focuses on a former pro wrestler who has a brush with death thanks to a crooked promoter, assembles a crew of fellow wrestlers he's screwed over to rob him blind during the biggest wrestling event of the year. So yeah, that's crazy. And also Kyle Starks wrote Peacemaker Tries Hard. So if you were a big fan of that book, that was also a really good book. But as a big wrestling fan, this is obviously something I'm going to check out. And just sounds like a fun concept as well. And the contrast there of the art, it looks very cartoony. Could be a fun story though. All right, coming in at number 2 from DC Comics, the first of 2 entries into this list from DC is Titans issue number 30. No, it's not a first issue, but it is round 4 of All Fight Month during this DCKO tournament. So it is kind of interrupting the story that's going on Titans to give us another one of the tournament fights, which is Cyborg versus Swamp Thing in this one. So really excited for this one. All the fights up to this point have been really good, really fun, constructed really well, and all very different. The way that they fight, the way that they're brought together. Some of them are, traditional fights. Some of them are all over the place. Some of them are very one-sided. Some of them are very even. So yeah, I love that they're doing different things with each of these, and they're not just predictable and the same thing over and over again. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this one, and that's why it is at number 2. And last but not least, coming in at number 1 is DCKO Harley Quinn versus Zatanna issue 1, another one shot. This is round 5 of All Fight Month. Everything I said about the previous book and all the fights and everything, just I like Harley Quinn and Zatanna more than I like Cyborg and Swamp Thing, so I'm more excited for this one. But this is a 48-page book for $4.99. And yeah, I'm really excited to read this one and see which one of these ladies comes out on top. But there you have it. That is the top 9 books on Friday 1st this week. I'd love to hear your top first list for the week of December 17th. Let me know in the comments below which of these books that you are looking forward to the most and what you think about my upcoming series Jumping on Points that I talked about at the beginning of the show. With that said, if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help the channel. And consider hitting that subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss any of the episodes or future stuff on this channel. You can, of course, follow me across social media at Only Good Comics, or type in onlygoodcomics.com to take you right back to this YouTube channel where we talk about only good comics. Until next time, thanks for watching. Take care, keep reading those comics, and I'll see you soon.